Hello, my name is Andrae Gonzalo, and some of you may remember me from Season 2 of Project Runway. We are here in Los Angeles, on top of my apartment building, so that I can talk about Forgotten Fashion, a brand new book that I'm really excited about because I'm doing some of the illustrations for it. Let's go down into my studio and I'll show you what I've been up to. One of the reasons I was really excited about this project was that it, in a way, really requires the mind of a fashion designer. You have to actually be able to work within all these sort of limits. This particular chapter is about the designs of a fictional fashion designer named Jacques Brevy, who was active toward the end of the 50s, and so he was very much like a lot of the designers in that time period, very much following in the vein of Christian Dior. So I had to get into the brain of this other guy. I brought myself back to the mindset of fashion illustrators in this time period too, and used a lot of the same techniques, where starting out with tracing paper and getting the drawing, the basics of the drawing down, and then tracing it onto watercolor paper, and then painting it too. So working with the tracing paper is kind of the way people have been doing it for many, many years. And because you're drawing on top of something, that confident line is possible, and that's how you kind of achieve that brash, fast look that, you know, most fashion illustrations look like they've just been spun out at breakneck speeds. I'm not that fast, but approaches it a little bit. I did a lot of research looking at other designers during the 50s. I have a book about Balenciaga, and so he's somebody who did a lot of work. It was really shape derived, so you can see again, like in some of these, how there was really a lot of architecture in this period, in the way that the clothes were designed, and so I kind of wanted to look at that to see if, you know, what was possible. So I did some of the illustrations for this chapter in gouache, and actually with watercolors and painting. So that was a really fun thing to kind of get back into that mindset and really explore what it was like back in the day. If you look at a lot of illustration from the 50s, it is very dramatic. It's just the beginning of people starting to use photography to sell fashion. And still, this period, pretty much every bit of fashion was sold through fashion illustration. So you see in the drawings from that period a sort of amazing energy and movement, and sort of the spirit of the dress is drawn, as opposed to just the actual seams and hems and, you know, sleeve lengths and things like that. So it's a very loose, very dramatic way of illustrating clothing. One of the things that I was trying to think about too was to draw not just what the dress would look like, but how the person would feel while they're wearing the dress. There is this little pocket of freedom for these very, very oppressed women of the 1950s, and of course, when they were able to wear their 4 o'clock dress, they were liberated. Fashion does not exist in a vacuum. It's connected to the time period that we live in. And what Kate has done that is so fantastic in this book is she's taken historical events, real, actual historical events, and rethought how they might affect the fashions of the times. It's a very funny book. It's funny to think that in another parallel universe, this is how they could have played out in terms of how people might have coped with change by resorting to fashion. forgotten fashion, an illustrated faux history of outrageous trends and their untimely demise.